Welcome to part 2 of our interview with Brian Falduto, a child actor who's been working to find his true self through different creative outlets. In part 1, Brian introduced us to 2 of his outlets, country music and self-care.
I mean, I do a lot of self-coaching. I'm a bit of a work junkie, as far as self-care. There's so many things I love to do.
Brian is a coach, but that doesn't mean he doesn't seek help for himself. He actively attends therapy twice a week and has to keep working towards his practice every day.
I'm very much learning still. I think what's interesting is a lot of people think that life coaches have the answers or something, and we don't. We're skilled at helping you find your answers. It's like a craft. But I like to pitch it as I think that no one is healed. But there are people who are actively healing, and then there are people who maybe aren't necessarily stepping into that work because they're living in avoidance. And believe me, I've been there. And yeah, so that's kind of how I view it.
The first healing step Brian took on his journey was relocating.
I spent 3 to 4 years really just crashing into walls as far as relationships and I had no connection to myself, so I got into all these dependent relationships and really self-sabotaging relationships very often, where I clearly was not operating from a place of self-worth. I was trying to find myself in other people and get them to love me to prove that I'm lovable, essentially. And I think that I really hit the ground running on that kind of stuff. And I know a lot of people have those experiences throughout their life, but I had a ton of those experiences within my first couple of years of coming out. And I had many, many sad nights that were really hard. And I think I eventually decided to do some traveling. I went to Los Angeles to do a project, and it was actually my first time ever being away from the tri-state area for a consistent amount of time. And when you travel, you open up new neural pathways in your mind. And I honestly just think that those years of really just running into walls, combined with me making a significant change in my environment, sort of allowed me to pause for a moment and be whoa, wait, what am I doing with my life? Why am I the victim in all of these scenarios? Why do I, certainly there must be a way for me to take responsibility for my own happiness. And I think the pandemic is a little bit similar for people in that, I went to LA and completely changed my situation, but that's what the pandemic was for a lot of people. It was a complete change of situation. And when that happens, yeah, you are forced to question everything you've been doing.
Brian launched 3 initiatives as a life coach for primarily LGBTQ+ clients: the Gay Life Coach podcast, the Gay Men's Self-Help Book Club, and the Gay Men's Mindfulness Collective.
I think the cool thing about coaching is you get to partner up with someone and sort of figure out what does work for you, because it's different than everyone else. If I tell everyone to go home and journaling doesn't work for everyone. It's not. We have to figure out what your self-discovery looks like. It's a layered thing, and it's often changing. I think the goal is wellness is not a state of mind, it's a state of action. It's sort of assessing what you need in the moment, allowing experiences to pass through you, leaning on other people for support.
So what does he recommend for people who want to start their own self-care journey?
Even if it's just taking a 1-hour walk every day, you don't underestimate the power of just leaving your phone home and taking a 1-hour walk today just to be with your own thoughts. I don't underestimate the power of that. Even just pausing for 5 minutes a day and doing a little meditation or a breathing. All of these are just ways to pause for a moment and not just go, go, go. Because when we go, 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 we are avoiding what wants to be communicating with us from within. Our thoughts aren't necessarily always the truth. Our feelings are the way more truthful than our thoughts. Our thoughts are just our brain trying to translate everything that's going on, which is usually operating from a point of panic or stress or worry, because That's how our brains were built. They were built in like fight or flight mode. They were built during caveman times. So, whereas our bodies, we are actually emotional beings. I think a lot of us like to think that we are logical beings who are sometimes emotional. We are emotional beings who are sometimes logical. And I think that if we can pause and just sort of be with ourselves a little bit more often, that's the work. And if you find yourself spiraling, see if you can just stop the thoughts for a moment and listen to like what's going on inside. That's been like the biggest tool for me that's allowed me to gain some more access to truth and not just like keep walking around in circles of lies that I tell myself or about my situation.
Brian also recommends hiring a life coach, but at a time when a lot of people's wallets are tight, it's not always affordable for everyone. As a solution, he has created other opportunities for clients to get guidance without breaking the bank. He brings meaningful conversations to the light in his podcast and created a space in his book club for people to come and talk about their feelings.
I think that a lot of self-help books don't necessarily address the queer community, which is a real shame because there's a lot of super digestible information in them. I feel like that is important, but they leave us out, and it's strange because I feel like so much of the content is applicable to our journey. And I find that gay men, this could be a generalization, but I find that unless we are addressed specifically, we don't really want to hear it because there's so many years where we've just been left out of the story. So I feel like we do want spaces that are tailored to us. And so with this book club, it's basically like-minded gay men getting a chance to read stuff that isn't necessarily directed at us, but we can pick and choose what we want from it that relates to our queer stories. Self-help can be overwhelming because it's like, oh my gosh, I have to do all this now. I always end my book club by saying, all we're doing is creating awareness. Awareness is the greatest agent for change. You don't need to read everything that you're reading in this book and then go home and change everything overnight. Awareness will actually create change in your life on its own. All you have to do is bring information to your situation and to your mind and to your consciousness, and then let the awareness do the rest. You don't have to necessarily heal overnight. It's not real.
But Brian is real. He does this stuff because he knows it works. He has seen an improvement in his own life, and he immediately knew this was something he had to share with others.
I got into coaching because, to be honest, I got a little addicted to the work because I noticed that it was making such an improvement in my life, and I was like, I want to do this more. I want to do this with people, and so I kind of just entered coaching, not sure that it was going to be something I would enjoy. It's several years now that I've been sort of in the proof of concept phase as far as me trying this out, and I love it. I love connecting with people and hearing their stories, and just, I am a super emotional person. You can hear that in my music, and I think that allows me to be super empathetic and meet people where they're at on their journey, and kind of just get to the root of what they need in that moment, which always looks different for every single person.
If you're ready to get started on your own healing journey, Brian said to start by taking a breath. Yeah, it's that easy.
I would not underestimate the power of breathing ever. I think that everyone should, at some point today, sit down and just draw attention to their 5 senses slowly, and then take 3 long breaths, 4 in, 4 out. Listen to what's going on around them. Just pause for 5 minutes. And then just notice. That's the important part. Notice the difference in presence. Because that right there is a mini awakening. And every time that we can create that small awakening where we don't just do our conditioned response and instead we do an intentional response, that is a moment of growth. That is the change that we're looking for in our lives. And really, that is all you can do. That is you doing your best to become the person you want to be. Is just having that small moment over and over as much as possible. But one of my favorite quotes is, "Enlightenment is an accident and practice makes you accident prone."
Want to hear more from Brian?
If people want more of my story, you can mainly find it in my music. This past year, I released a song about my experience growing up gay in church called God Loves Me Too, and the music video won an award, so everyone should go check that out. It's actually also funded by the School of Rock team, which is a little fun fact. Jack Black was behind the video as well. What else? People can find me on Instagram, Brian Falduto, or The Gay Life Coach. And as I mentioned in the interview, I have quite a few initiatives as far as coaching. You can coach with me one-on-one. You can join The Collective, which is a community that I have for doing all the work like I've talked about, which is where you'll find the book club and the things we talked about.
It is true.
Thanks for watching. Pride is a production of Straw Hat Media. If you like the show, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter @Pride, and tune in weekly for new episodes. Be sure to share this episode with your friends and subscribe to our podcast too. You can follow me @Levi Chambers. Pride is produced by me, Levi Chambers, Maggie Bowles, Ryan Tillotson, and Caitlin McDaniel. Edited by Sebastian Alcala and Daniel Ferreira. Sound editing and mixing by Sebastian Alcala.
He's crazy, but also surprisingly professional. And honestly, I think he might be the kindest human ever. He shared my music video when it came out and he funded it.
So the moral of the story is Jack Black is a fucking badass.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Straw Hut Media.